I find it. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to welcome you to the Clayton County Board of Education work session. Today is July 31st, 2023. The time is 6:04. At this time, I'm going to call the meeting to order, and I'm going to have a stand and have the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, I will read the ethics statement. In accordance with board policy, BH, it is the duty of every board member to avoid both conflicts of interest and appearances of such conflicts. Does any board member have any known conflict of interest or appearance of such conflict with respect to any matter scheduled to come before the board at this meeting or appearing on our proposed agenda? If so, please identify the conflict or appearance of conflict and refrain from participation in the matter involved. Let me call the meeting to order by calling the roll. I'm going to start with District 1, Ms. Jasmine Bowles.
Present.
District 2, Mr. Mark Christmas.
Present.
District 3, Jesse Goree. Present. District 4, Ms. Victoria Williams. District 5, Dr. D. Haney.
Present.
District 6, Ms. Mary Baker.
Present.
District 7, Ms. Sabrina Hill.
Present.
District 8, Ms. Joy Tellis Cooper.
Present.
District 9, Mr. Benjamin Straker.
Present.
Superintendent, Dr. Anthony Smith.
Present.
Attorney, Mr. Clem Doyle.
Present.
Board Liaison, Ms. Kim Blackwood. Ms. Alicia Battle, the Administrative Assistant to the Superintendent. Ms. Don Blau, the Administrative Assistant to the Deputy Superintendent and Chief of Staff. All right. I've read the ethics statement and we need to adopt the agenda. Before we adopt the agenda, I need to amend the agenda. We're looking down at updates to the board. We have added a report from Business Services. And we have it listed as Ms. Ramona Bivens, but I believe we have someone from the state that will be giving that update. And then we did have under our under our construction for SPLOS, we have the cooperation agreement between Clayton County Public Schools and Clayton County Public Schools Foundation. We are removing that item from the agenda. All right, so at this time, I need a vote to accept the amended agenda. Mr. Christmas? All right, thank you. I need a second. Ms. Baker?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second that we accept the agenda as amended. Please vote. All right, let me ask, Ms. Cooper, are you vote? Okay, all right. Mr. Straker. All right, and the vote is 8-0. Thank you all so much. All right. We have adopted the agenda, the amended agenda, and at this time, we will have recommendations from executive session where we discuss litigation and personnel matters. So I'm going to turn that over to you, Dr. Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the board, colleagues, and our community members. Thank you for coming out this evening. Madam Chair, I would like for the board to consider for the position of principal at Northcutt Elementary School for Dr. Alex Davis.
All right, board members, I need a motion for the superintendent's recommendation of Dr. Alex Davis as principal of Northcutt Elementary School. And I am going to move that we accept that recommendation. I need a second, Ms. Cooper.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second that we accept the superintendent's recommendation of Dr. Alex Davis as the principal at Northcutt. Please vote. All right, it is a unanimous vote, 8-0.
Dr. Davis, if Dr. Davis is present, please stand and be recognized. Congratulations, sir. Thank you, board members. I would like the board to consider for the position of assistant principal at Lovejoy High School for Ms. Terry Colbert.
All right, board members, I need a motion for the superintendent's recommendation of Ms. Terry Colbert as the assistant principal at Lovejoy High School. Ms. Bowles.
So moved, Madam Chair.
I need a second, Ms. Baker.
I second that.
All right, it's been moved and properly second that we accept the superintendent's recommendation of Ms. Terry Colbert as the AP at Lovejoy High School. Please vote. All right, and the vote is 8-0. It's a unanimous vote.
Ms. Colbert, please stand and be recognized. And congratulations. Thank you, board members. I would like for the board to consider for the position of assistant principal at Lovejoy High School for Dr. Natasha Simpson.
All right, board members, I need a motion for the superintendent's recommendation of Dr. Natasha Simpson as assistant principal at Lovejoy High School. Ms. Bowles.
So moved.
All right, I need a second. Ms. Baker.
I second it.
All right, it's been moved and properly second that we accept the superintendent's recommendation. Please vote. All right, again, it's a unanimous vote, 8-0.
Dr. Simpson, if you're present, please stand and be recognized. Congratulations. Thank you, board. I would like the board to consider for the position of assistant principal at Lovejoy High School, Antonio Speed.
Board members, I need a motion for the superintendent's recommendation for Mr. Antonio Speed to be the assistant principal at Lovejoy High School. Ms. Bowles.
So moved.
All right. Second, Ms. Baker.
I second that.
It's been moved and properly second. Please vote. All right. Again, we have a 8-0 vote, a unanimous vote.
Mr. Speed, please stand and be recognized, and congratulations, sir. Thank you, board members. I would like for the board to consider for the position of assistant principal at Riverdale High School for Dr. Avis Foley.
All right, board members, I need a motion for the superintendent's recommendation for the assistant principal at Riverdale High to be Dr. Avis Foley. And I'm going to move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation. I need a second. All right, Mr. Christmas.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and properly second that we accept the superintendent's recommendation of Dr. Avis Foley as the assistant principal at Riverdale High School. Please vote. All right, it is a unanimous vote for Dr. Avis Foley.
Dr. Foley, if you're present, please stand and be recognized. Congratulations, Dr. Foley. Thank you, board members. I would like the board to consider for the position of assistant principal at Eddie White Middle Academy, Dr. Kelvin Griffin.
Board members, I need a motion for the superintendent's recommendation for the assistant principal at Eddie White Middle Academy, to be Dr. Kelvin Griffin. Ms. Bowles?
So moved, Madam Chair.
All right. And second, Ms. Baker?
I second it. Thank you.
All right, it's been moved and properly second that we accept the superintendent's recommendation. Please vote. All right, again, a unanimous vote, 8-0 for Dr. Kelvin Griffin.
Dr. Griffin, if you're present, please stand, and congratulations, sir. I would like the board to consider for the position of Coordinator of School Improvement for High Schools, Dr. Sequina Scott.
All right, we need a motion for the superintendent's recommendation of Dr. Sequina Scott as the Coordinator of School Improvement for High Schools. Mr. Straker?
So moved, Madam Chair.
All right, I need a second. Mr. Christmas?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and properly second that we accept the superintendent's recommendation. All right, and it is a unanimous vote.
Congratulations, Dr. Scott. Please stand and be recognized if you're present. Is Dr. Scott present? Okay, well, good deal. Thank you. Congratulations to Dr. Scott. Thank you, board. Also, I would like for the board to consider for the position of Executive Director for Discipline Prevention and Intervention, Mr. Melvin Blocker.
Board members, I need a motion for the superintendent's recommendation for the Executive Director of Discipline Prevention and Intervention. Ms. Hill?
So moved, Madam Chair.
All right, I need a second. Dr. Haney?
I second that motion.
All right, it's been moved and properly second that we accept the superintendent's recommendation. Please vote. Ms. Bowles? Thank you. All right, and it is a unanimous vote.
Mr. Blocker, please stand if you're present. Congratulations, sir. Thank you, board members. I would like to acknowledge for information, staff members that will be considered for positions of acting. I would like the board to acknowledge and would like for us to recognize Tara Davidson, currently Assistant Principal at Lovejoy High School, as acting principal at Harper Elementary School. Mrs. Davidson, are you present? If so, please stand and be recognized. Congratulations. Also, I would like the board to acknowledge and recognize Emma Brandy, Assistant Principal at Brown Elementary, to the role of acting principal at Unidos Dual Language Elementary School. Ms. Brandy, if you're present, please stand and be recognized. Congratulations. I would like the board to acknowledge Mr. Raymond Williams, counselor at Morrow High School, to the role of acting assistant principal at Jonesboro High School. Mr. Williams, if you're present, please stand and be recognized. He's at open house doing his duties. Good deal. Also, Patricia Kane McCrary as the instructional support teacher at Mundy's Mill High, to the role of acting assistant principal at Mundy's Mill High School. Mrs. McCrary, if you're present, please stand. She may very well be at open house as well. Also, like the board to acknowledge Mr. Garland Frazier, counselor at Forest Park High School, to the role of acting assistant principal at Forest Park High School. Is Mr. Frazier present? Please stand and be recognized. Congratulations, sir. Also, Mr. Keith Evans, science teacher at Morrow Middle School, to the role of acting assistant principal at Lovejoy High School. It's Mr. Evans. Congratulations, sir. Thank you. Also, Mr. Jared Fowler, counselor at Oliver Elementary, to the role of acting assistant principal at Point South Elementary School. Is Mr. Fowler present? Congratulations, Mr. Fowler. Dr. Ebony Lee, Assistant Superintendent of K-12 Readiness in the Teaching and Learning and Strategic Improvement Division, to the role of Acting Chief of Communications. Dr. Lee, please stand and be recognized. And congratulations. Thank you, board members. Those are our appointments and acknowledgements. Thank you, board members.
We would like to get a picture with you all. So if you all don't mind, will you, all of those people whose names we called, would you please come and join the board, please? All right, if we could come to order, please. If we could come to order, thank you. The next item on the agenda is business services. These are updates to the board.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mrs. Bivens.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, board members, Superintendent Dr. Smith, colleagues, and community. This evening, we have Ms. Sarah McLeod. She's the Deputy Director with the Georgia Department of Audits and Accounts, and she's also a graduate of Jonesboro High School. I can throw that plug in there. She's going to provide information on the district's recent designation as high risk. Last year, we were designated as moderate. However, due to audit findings on the 2021 audit that was recently completed, has placed us on the high-risk designation list. So without further delay, I will let Ms. McLeod do her presentation and allow you to ask her any questions that you may have as it relates to the state process, and I'll be happy to respond to any other questions you may have regarding our process.
All right, thank you.
Hi,
Good evening.
good evening. I'm glad to be back here. As she mentioned, I am a graduate from Clayton County Schools more years ago than I want to admit, but I did a little tour of Jonesboro before I came in this evening. So I reside in Valdosta now, and it's nice to come back every once in a while. Jonesboro High looks much different than it did when I went there now, though. It's a beautiful school. So I appreciate y'all's time. This is a presentation that is required under Senate Bill 68. So this is something that went into effect in July of 2021. So it is something we've only been doing a couple years now, but if you are designated as high risk, regardless of who does your audit, the Department of Audits comes out and gives this presentation to the school board. They consider it a training of sorts. Just it goes over your audit and the findings and lets you know what your audit risk is. So, right here. So I'll just give you a little background on Senate Bill 68. I'm not sure how familiar you are with it. It updates legislation that was already in place. It really just strengthens the provisions that relate to financial management of a school district. There were some bigger items in the update, and one of them is what brings me here this evening. It charged the Department of Audits with designating each school system in Georgia with being either high or moderate risk if they have a budget deficit or irregularity for 1 or 2 years, you're moderate risk. And if that goes over into the third year, that's when you trip up and become high risk. So that's what designates that high risk. We have designated an irregularity as an internal control finding. So if you have a finding in your audit report, that's considered an irregularity. You can have a finding over your financial statement issues or over your federal audit. So when your auditors come in and do the audit, they also look at some of your federal programs each year, and you can wind up with a finding in that as well. So either type of finding is included in this designation. You did not have any deficits, but the bill does call out that if a school system has a deficit, it is also part of the risk designation consideration. It also says that the State Board of Education will inform the superintendent if you've been designated high or moderate risk. And that's going to come through the form of the clearance letter, which is received after your audit. And then also after that, you get that letter, a clock starts, and you have 120 days to submit a corrective action plan to the State Board of Education. And so that's something that hasn't been required in the past. Y'all have, the school district, your finance department has been required to respond to findings, but they've elevated that the board actually has to approve and sign off on the corrective action plan before it's submitted to the state board. So that's a new piece under Senate Bill 68. Clayton County was informed by myself through an email once we received your audit report from your CPA, because y'all are not audited by the Department of Audits. You have an outside CPA firm that comes in and does your audit. So once I received that audit report, I was able to review it, make my risk designation, and send out the notification both to you guys and over to Amy Rao at Financial Services with GDOE. So that's kind of how the notification process works each year. Each quarter, I have to prepare a letter that goes over to the state board. that lists any school districts that were designated moderate or high risk in that last quarter. So that's the designation. It's actually in the bill that we will supply that information to them on a quarterly basis. So I send that over. It's signed by the state auditor. And then they have an audit committee at the state board level at GDOE that meets on a pretty regular basis. And they go over that list and ask any questions that they might have of their financial review department or of myself at those meetings. Then this is where, like I said already, the bill requires that if you're high risk, I come and speak to y'all and give this training. So y'all will be able to check that box tonight after this training. I'm going to leave a sign-in type sheet just for, us auditors love some documentation. So just to document who was here and received the training. Just a little background. I'm not sure how familiar each of you is with an audit process or what an audit finding really means. But an audit finding is when auditors note a deficiency in internal controls. So this exists when the design or operation of the internal controls at the school district was not able to detect that error in a timely manner or prevent it or correct it. So it's something that the auditors found during their auditing while they were here. There's 2 levels of audit findings. You can have a material weakness or a significant deficiency. A material weakness finding is the more severe of the 2 levels. It basically says that there is a possibility that a combination of deficiencies or misstatements could have led to your financial statements being materially incorrect. So that's a more severe finding. And then the lesser is a significant deficiency, which is the exact same type of deficiency. We're just talking about a smaller dollar amount or a less severe internal control issue. So as we've already mentioned, Clayton County for their FY21 audit, this is the 21 audit. Y'all are currently undergoing your 22 audit right now, and y'all are working on getting caught up so that your audits are more in timeline with the fiscal year because we're in 24 right now. They're having to operate in 24. So you are high risk for 21. It will be reassessed when we get your 22 audit. I talked to the finance department and I told them, and I'll tell y'all the same thing, when y'all are trying to catch up on your audits, timing is really your worst enemy at that point. They're not going to have the opportunity to clear a lot of these findings for this 22 report. They just got the 21 and they're already partway through the 22 audit. And so you may see some of these repeat. It may take a couple years to clear these up. I also know that you brought on a new software, financial reporting software. Anytime a school district does that, that opens up itself to have some more errors and just likely to have some more problems to work through. So as you guys catch up on your audits and get more familiar with your financial system, I would expect that these can start to go away. But just to set expectations, 22 may have some of these repeated again. We'll just have to see. So here is a listing of the findings that were part of the designation, excuse me, for being high risk. So these are the material weakness findings. Again, these are the ones that are more severe, the findings. So you had your bank reconciliations, accrued payrolls, revenue recognition, and several over capital assets that the auditors, the CPA firm decided to break out into different findings, whereas some may have combined that into one. So you'll see capital assets pop up several times. And then some fund balance and prior period adjustments. And I do have a slide that's just super high level to go over each of these, just to give you a little background of what they are. So the first finding, material weakness, was bank reconciliations. You can see there in the effect, but basically the auditors come in, they do a test over your cash to make sure cash is being reconciled timely, that the reconciliations are accurate. And the auditors noted these errors when they were reviewing the cash reconciliation. So you had some misstatements in the general fund, capital projects fund, and your non-major governmental funds. So they were able to propose entries in order to correct these on your financial statements. So when your financial statements or your audit reports published, these are corrected, but as auditors, we're required to report these in a finding. Do you want me to just go through these? And then if y'all have questions for anybody, then okay. Accrued payroll is the other one. There was an adjustment required to increase your payroll accruals, so your salary and benefits payable amount by that 45 million there. So this was one entry that they had to do. And so that was a material amount on your financial statement. So it fell under a material weakness finding. Revenue recognition, again, it was just an entry that had to be made in order to decrease revenues. To show the revenues properly in your audit report, we want to make sure that your revenues are reported at the correct amounts. And then we get into some of the capital asset issues. So the maintenance of your capital asset subsidiary ledger, they just found that there were some projects that were not placed in service in a timely manner, some misclassifications on your financial statements. And then also there was about 1.2 million of capital assets that were not able to be identified and had to be removed from the general ledger since they were not identified anywhere as capital assets. So that was the first capital asset finding that was a material weakness. Again, related to your capital assets, calculation of depreciation. So this is just saying that capital assets were noted as being depreciated in excess of the rate that was expected. So you have a useful life that's considered with capital assets, and the formula that was being used was not necessarily correct, and the auditors made an adjustment here as well. And then for the last material weakness finding, you had fund balance and prior period adjustments. This is when you come in, we have to make sure that your beginning balance ties back to that last year's ending balance. And it took some entries in order for the auditors to get that straight. So that speaks to this. And I did want to say, I use the word materiality, and I know that's kind of like auditor's language probably. Just to give you a little background on that, materiality is set by the auditors. At the Department of Audits, we consider materiality to be 5% of your expenses on any opinion unit. So like general fund, capital projects, or your total government-wide statements, we look at 5% of those. So your CPA firm might be using a slightly different percentage, but all auditors are using some kind of percentage of your expenses more than likely to calculate it. So if you wanted to have some idea of how big of a number trips materiality, it's about 5% of your expenses. So you just had two significant deficiencies that were included in the risk designation. They were capital project tracking and interfund balances. The capital project tracking does tie into capital assets, as these normally become what's capital assets on your ledger. This is if you're building a building or some kind of project. And there is a difference of about $1.4 million between the general ledger and the capital project subsidiary ledger. So it wasn't material, but they did feel it was significant enough to warrant a finding. So it was a significant deficiency finding. And then you had some interfund balances. There were some differences, about $7 million noted between interfund balances. Activity between your funds, if general fund or capital projects and debt service, all have to kind of be eliminated and cleaned out. So all that shows is between those fund types. So there were some interfund balances that were not cleaned up at the end of the year. So those are the findings. There were a few additional findings in the report. I think there were 3 other ones. They were like in the first year or the second year, so they weren't on the third year yet. So they're not included in my presentation, but they are included in the audit report for 21, and you'll be able to find those there. But I just wanted to point that out. As I already mentioned, we will review this every year. So when the 22 report is done, they'll send it over to me. I'll do another analysis and let y'all know if you are moderate or high again. So your risk designation can change each year. So you can, like I said, all it takes is clearing up those findings, and that's how you remove the risk designation. And the corrective action plan that you're sending over to GDOE, just make sure that it's pretty specific as to which steps are going to be taken. They're looking for, actual steps and not a generic response of internal controls we put into place, but they're looking for what internal controls, what steps, what employees will be doing those steps. So just a heads up so they won't have you redo it. And that's all I have. Try to make it short and painless for y'all. Do y'all have any questions for me or anything that?
Yes, I have a question. Since
Sure.
you said that this is considered a training for the board, we have one board member that is absent.
I noticed.
So what would be the procedure then for that person to have considered being trained?
I can reach out to them, or they can reach out to me, and we can just do kind of an informal training, like via Zoom or Skype, like video conference, and that would be sufficient. We've had to do that a couple times, and
Okay.
that'll count. Yeah, that's not a problem.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
I believe I saw Ms. Cooper's light first. Ms. Cooper.
Hi. Like I'm over here in
I
the
know,
corner.
behind-
So really quickly, a couple of things.
Okay.
First of all, can we make sure that we let the community know that we're not in financial
Yes.
trouble? So I
Yes.
just want to make that clear and for individuals to understand that part.
Yeah, I could speak to that too a little bit. School districts now have so many different risk designations. A few years ago now. So yes, it's very separate. It's two separate things.
Yeah. And then number two, I know that this is an area that myself and the finance committee, we've been really concerned about as far as the audits and how far behind we were on the audits. So I'm glad that we're kind of diving into this and that the new administration, they're trying to get us caught up. But my question is realistically, because we've asked this question before, how long is it going to take to stop this snowball from really rolling and forming as far as like the findings? Because that was kind of one of the questions that me and the committee had when we were discussing these audits and looking at them.
Mm-hmm.
How do we stop the bleeding, and how long is it going to take to catch up? Because like you said, we're so behind that by the time you fix 2021, we're into 2024.
Right, I agree. Well, that's why I did want to caution for 22. I mean, obviously, that probably may look very similar to what this did, only because there was no time to clear those issues. But it sounds like you're trying to get caught up. So, I mean, I would say realistically, it's going to take a few years. And she may be able to speak to some of the things that are in place more than me. But just as an auditor, seeing, you know, if there's new staff coming in, new procedures and policies in place. Some of that will just be different. It's the ones like maybe have classes where there's several things you can work on, and maybe that one.
Ms. Wallace. Ms. Cooper actually covered most of my questions. One of them, I wanted to confirm that this data is about fiscal year 2021, and you confirmed that. Okay. And my second question is, you mentioned that to go from, they go red flag to high risk, it's about the number of years. So my question for you is, if this is data that's 3 years ago already, fiscal year 2021, does that mean fiscal year 2021 was the third year out of compliance?
Years 20 and 19 were problematic as well.
Yes. So last year, Clayton County was on the moderate list. So there were some findings, the ones that are listed, that made it to the third year in 2021. So it's taken 3 years to get to the high risk. Is that what you're asking, or am I not answering it correctly?
No, I think you answered the question, and I still have the same concern, which you already addressed, which is if we're getting 3-year-old data about a 3-year-old problem 3 years later.
Right.
Yeah. But I also hear that there are things that we're doing to try to catch up and prevent such a large gap between finding a problem and finding a solution.
Right. And
Okay.
She can speak to it too, but I know that they are working on getting caught up. Maybe you can speak to how far the 22 audit is, since we're not here.
So
And thank you for your presentation, by the way.
So, board, right now, we're in the middle of the 2022 audit. It started, I believe we got it started in April after I arrived. I contacted Martin and Jenkins, our previous auditor, and they were able to come in and get started on their audit. We anticipate them wrapping that up in maybe September, October of this year. And as soon as they get that wrapped up, they'll go right into the 2023 audit, which is the fiscal year we just completed. And it is my goal to have that done by late spring of next year, and then we'll be all caught up. And as Ms. McLeod said, for the 2022 audit, some of these things staff has put some things in place even before I got here, like the bank reconciliations, that has been done. They have a process in place to address the payroll accruals at the end of the fiscal year. Also made sure it was kind of like a perfect storm where they implemented the system, but we also had turnover in staff. The CFO at the time when they selected the system, that person left. We hired someone else. We had a lot of turnover in the finance department. We had a lot of staff that didn't have experience in school finance. They may have had, excuse me, designations, CPAs, or other experience in finance, but not in school finance, which is a different animal. So a lot of that combined together. The implementation of Munis was done in 2 phases, which we probably should have done just one. For the financials, inaccurate numbers were carried over. So all of that together was a perfect storm. And then they were behind, and now we're trying to catch up. And as she stated, when we become aware of these deficiencies, we're already in the next year, sometimes right now, 2 years later. So the next audit, when 2022 comes along, there was no time to correct those. Typically what happens is we get the audit done, it's sent to department audits by December of the end of that calendar year, and we have all of our findings and things, and you have at least 6 months to get those corrected before the end of the next fiscal year, so you don't have those same findings. We haven't been afforded that opportunity because we were so far behind. So it's my goal to get caught up by the end of spring of 2024, and then therefore hopefully we can get off of this list.
Let me ask, did you just say that you brought back Maudlin Jenkins?
Malden and Jenkins.
Okay, but I'm gonna ask a question since Ms. Cooper has been on that committee. I thought didn't we get
So-
rid of Maudlin Jenkins because
Yes.
it
So-
seems like that was where the problem. I mean, well, I can't speak for their firm, but they were the ones that did the audit. Were they not the auditors for 21?
No, ma'am. Another auditor. So it's complicated. Ms. Billingsley explained to me that there were some issues with our financials, and Malden and Jenkins were reluctant to do anything with it because of the shape that everything was in. I spoke to the incorrect information being transferred into the system. So it was pretty bad. So the finance director or the CFO at that time decided to go with someone else. We still have, if I'm not mistaken, we still have the ability to use Malden and Jenkins because our contract was with them, but they went with somebody else to do Purvis, and I don't remember the name. Purvis
Yeah,
and Gray.
but I thought that I'll just let Ms. Cooper answer this question. But I thought we let them go because they had not done the audit. Is that not correct?
Yes,
Ms.?
so Ms. Bivens, as I was saying earlier, me and the finance team, we dug in deep with this because we were very concerned as to why we were so behind, like really behind. What we came to the conclusion was that was part of our issuing problem. So we came up with the idea, let's search for someone else. That's our right, to search for someone else to try to get us caught up to where we should be. So to hear that we're going back to what put us where we were at is a little bit alarming and concerning. So I would love for us to kind of talk a little bit more, Dr. Smith, about that, because that was the whole reason that was giving, and you might want to talk to your staff that's there as to why we were so behind. So I don't want to use the same person that put us in that situation because it could happen again. So
Right.
let's talk
Let's
a little
talk
bit more
about that because that's not the information that I received. So,
Oh.
and I have I've worked with that particular auditor at 2 of my previous employers and never had any issues with them.
Mhm.
So I was kind of a little privy to some more inside information of what really happened. So let's talk about that.
Okay,
Okay.
we got you. Okay, Ms. Hill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just had one question. As we talk about where we are and the fact that we're having a training, what are the consequences for us being here?
So the consequences are basically, we're here together tonight. So the bill really only stipulates this training that I come and present for y'all. And then you have to do that corrective action plan, which is way more detailed than what they've asked for in the past. That actually has to be approved by the board. All of y'all have to agree on it and sign off on it. And then the superintendent gets to come to training with myself and Amy Rao. All the superintendents are always very excited to come to that with us, but it's a financial management type training as well. And we hold that once a quarter at various RESAs around the state. So hopefully you can just wait until the RESA's closest to you to try to make it as most convenient for your schedule.
Before I have Mr. Straker, are you finished, Ms. Hill?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, now you said all of us have to sign off on it. So are you saying that we need to have a unanimous vote, or we need to have a majority vote that we're accepting the corrective action plan?
I don't want to get in. I will check with Amy Rao and I can get back to you because they're the ones that accept it at GDOE. I know in her training, she wants all the board members to sign on it. So it sounds unanimous to me, but I can check with Amy and I can get back and let you know, and we can pass along a message if that's okay.
Okay, Mr. Straker.
Ms. McLeod, I apologize in advance for trying to simplify this for myself. Couple of questions. Number
Sure.
one, other districts in the metro Atlanta area, are they going on, or do they have the same ratings as we do? Are there other counties that are experiencing similar situations like us?
So there are other metro areas that are on the moderate or high risk.
Okay.
And then there are also throughout the state, others that are, this is not the first time I've come
So
and
we're
talked
not
to a board.
exclusive.
You're not
exclusive to
exclusive
this
on the
status.
list, right?
All right.
yeah.
Secondly, it sounds like a lot like there's any, besides the $2 million that were, it sound like there's any embezzlements or scandals that are going on with the money. It's just a matter of the state wants to see these reported and the standard in which general accounting practices require. And we missed the boat on a couple of those. Am I correct?
Yeah, I mean, that I would say that's a pretty accurate description. All of those, like I said, a lot of those are simply adjusting entries that based on the auditor's testing, they were able to determine were not correct. So they had to make those and bring it back in line. So some of that can be just from the day-to-day accounting, like the general ledger wasn't accurate. So some of those were like the subsidiary ledger. So that comes from day-to-day accounting. And some of it can be from financial statement preparation at the end. So yeah, I mean,
So it's just missing the boat on a
fraud,
few things.
it's not
right?
embezzlement. There's no fraud or anything like that
Right.
in there. It's just errors, human error, which is a lot, most of the time, what almost 99.9% of audit findings are. is human
Fantastic.
error.
Thank you.
Dr. Haney.
Thank you so much for this. I wanted to ask you, you were saying, and just what my colleagues are saying, if we're trying to play catch up and get these audits caught up, are we going to be penalized in those months or years? Meaning that we're going to stay on this list, you all do another audit, see that we're still trying to play catch up. Are we going to be penalized to a point? Because it's like when Ms. Cooper said, we don't want the community to think, though, well, now we broke, now we on an audit, and then it goes further to think now accreditation. I mean, it goes beyond just what we're talking about. So I wanted to know, would there be any penalties incurred with that, or how does that work?
I mean, every year I would do have to review your report. So I will review the 21 and make another risk designation as needed. But there's no more severe penalties or no new penalties that will come if you're on the high risk again next year. You'll just stay there. I mean, I will say that the state board definitely is interested in this list. So they brought back the audit committee at the state board level just to be able to, like keep a handle on this because it did create a lot of new reporting. So they take, they're watching, but there's no like cut in funding or anything like that that's going to happen for staying on the list. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I didn't get to write this version and I doubt I'll be asked to write the next version of the bill. So.
Mr. Christmas, I thought I saw your light. Did you want to have a question?
You did. My question probably was for Ms. Bivens. I'm not sure. It was the internal controls. It has to be specific, is what I'm getting. That's what I heard, and not just general. Not only does it have to be specific, but it has to have a person name attached to it. Are we doing that?
Yes, sir, we are doing that. They've actually, so you already have a corrective action plan from last year when you were placed, when we were placed on the moderate risk, as moderate risk. So we have that corrective action plan, but I also, staff and I've already started looking at these. I actually started asking questions, asking, well, why wasn't this done? Or is this being done? So I have some information here from Ms. Billingsley of some steps that have been taken. One of them is the bank reconciliations. They are being done on a monthly basis by a designated staff member. So that would be included as part of, for instance, so for that one, we would say bank reconciliations would be reconciled within so many days of the close of the bank statement or the end of the month when we receive the bank statements each month by the general accountant, whatever position we decide, who will be doing that. So that's what they were looking for. I actually had a meeting with Ms. Royal this morning to ask those specific questions. Exactly what are you looking for? And she said it has to be very detailed and not the generic that we normally give to the auditors when we for our annual audit. So when you look at our audit, you will see that they have a finding, and then you'll see management response. And usually management's response is management concurs with this finding, appropriate controls have been, or processes have been put in place to eliminate this issue. But it'll be, like I said, more detail kind of to what I just stated about the bank recs. So same thing with the what was the payroll accruals. There is a process in place. We can articulate that and put that in writing on what is specifically is being done to address that and what staff member is doing that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Baker.
First of all, thank you for taking the time to come, and congratulations for being a Jonesboro alumni.
Yes, thank you.
But are we going to get a copy of this PowerPoint?
I can. I already provided the copy.
Okay.
So she can send it out to y'all.
Okay,
Yeah.
just so I can read it again and
Yeah, and digest everything.
Yes, thank
Yes.
you.
And it helps too if you have your 21 findings or the audit report. But I did pretty much copy them into there. They weren't very lengthy in the report. So that pretty much has all of them that were part of the risk designation in there. Mm-hmm.
All right. Are there any other questions, board members?
One more.
All right.
So we are looking at having the auditor that did the 2021 audit come and speak to the board about the audit and the findings as well. And you will be getting the little book that you normally get, or you should have been getting each year with the audit. And when I send it to you, I'll let you know what pages to find the findings on. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. And I will have, we have one board member that is actually out of town. So we will definitely have her to contact you so that
Okay.
everyone will have had the training.
Perfect.
And then we would like to know that question about
Yeah, I'll get
a
back to you tomorrow.
unanimous vote.
Yep, I will for sure.
Okay.
I appreciate y'all having me tonight. I thank you.
Thank you.
And my
Thank you.
contact information is on there. So if you need anything, let me know.
Thank you so much.
Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the board, Superintendent, Dr. Anthony W. Smith. We're here to provide updates from the Administrative Services Division. There are about 4 executive directors, and they'll come in this order, and 1 chief. Representing athletics, Mr. Gary Townsend. Facility Services, Mr. Sam Coble. Nutrition, Ms. Audrey Hamilton. Technology, Mr. Rod Smith. And Transportation, Ms. Denise Hall. They will come in this order.
Good evening, Board Chair Goree, board members, Dr. Smith, Gary Townsend, Executive Director of Athletics. I'm here to just give you an update of where we are. Right now, the athletic department is very proud and very excited about what's going on. Right now, we have 5 major projects going at our schools, and that includes Jonesboro High School, Riverdale High School, Forest Park High School, Mundy's Mill High School, and Charles Drew High School, in which they're working on the baseball fields, football fields, track and all that, preparing for next season. Those capital improvements I'm very excited about. As far as our sports, as you know, we had a great success with our elementary basketball. So we're going to continue to feed our younger kids, and we're going to move to a flag football in elementary sports. And not only flag football, we're also going to move to flag football for girls at middle school, because flag football is very, very large in the state of Georgia for ladies. So we want to make sure when they get to high school, it's not the first time that they see this sport, which is moving forward. We have decided to require that all of our coaches and ADs attend 2 professional developments a year to improve on their craft of coaching and organization for athletics. Can go to the next slide. The Office of Athletics and Transportation and Safety and Security have a very open line of communication to make sure that our kids are safe and being going to transportation, not missing any of our events. And for safety of our kids, we have invested in the peri-weather system, which is a tool that monitors all dangerous heat and conditions that might be dangerous for our kids. It's an investment that I think we need to have, and every high school principal and every AD and every head coach, as well as members of the maintenance team, have an opportunity to utilize this device to make sure not only our kids are safe, but our workers are safe also. Any questions?
Mr. Townsend,
Yes.
I would like to know, what is the status of the football
Oh,
field
I'm sorry.
at North Clayton High School?
I'm sorry. I met with Charles Dobson, who is a contractor who went over there, and we looked at North Clayton's football field, baseball field, and softball field. And with agreement from Dr. Smith, we're going to make sure that North Clayton receive the attention they need so they can have adequate practice and playing fields on their campus. Right now, because the football field was under construction or needed to be under construction, I made it, transported them to Southern Crescent Stadium to practice every day during the summer, and we will continue until those changes are made.
All right.
But also, I forgot to tell you, our 2 competition stadiums are under construction. 12 Oaks will be completed Thursday. We have a walk to Thursday morning, brand new turf. Terra Stadium, Hines Ward Field, is under construction right now and should be completed by next Wednesday. And that's the changing of turf fields that have been in existence at those stadiums for 15 years. And I thank you, Doc, for making that happen. It's going to create a much safer playing atmosphere for our kids.
And Mr. Townsend, can you share with the board that peri-weather system also is utilized with our health and physical education teachers during the course of the school day, to alert the staff if the conditions are too dangerous to go out and do day-to-day PE activities?
Our athletic directors they understand that if there is a dangerous condition during the day, they are to report that not only to our PE teacher, but also to our ROTC or any other auxiliary. We have now made it mandatory for the band directors to input all their information, physicals and forms to Dragonfly, so we can monitor their outdoor activities also.
And so everyone now has the equipment, all high schools.
All high schools, and
every single one. Every single middle school.
Just the high schools right now have them.
Oh, now we need that for middle schools as well.
Yes, ma'am.
We can't have any more incidences like that. Dr. Haney.
Well, he had already answered about Hines, because I was going to ask about that at Terra. You said that the field will be completed next Wednesday. Hines
Ward
Terra.
Field will be finished next Wednesday.
That was my concern. The scoreboard, is that going to be functioning? Because I know we had some
Scoreboard is functioning. We're
malfunctions.
working on improving the internet service up there, so that because it's a digital jumbo board, so it has to have consistent internet access to run the updates, just like it's a cell phone. We have to make sure that we improve the internet that is
there in the stadiums, in all the press boxes.
So it was the internet that caused it.
Yes.
That one night we were there and it
Yes.
just went out. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Because I did have a parent ask me that recently. Will that be completed and corrected? So, okay. Thank you.
Mr. Christmas.
Mr. Townsend, how is that data being reported to your ADs and your coaches and,
The data from the Perry Weather,
yeah,
the Perry Weather app, we have over 110 different assignments to that. So every coach has it. It's on their phone. It goes off. It gives them an alert. They can see what the wet bulb reading is, and then they must follow the GHS rules as it pertains to what the wet bulb reading is.
what if coach left his phone at the house?
You got your AD who should be monitoring that also. You have every principal who should be monitoring that also.
So the AD will tell the principal go tell the coach.
Principal, AD, coaches.
But what I'm saying is there's still, we don't need any breakdowns
No,
in the system.
But-
So the coach decided, coach happened to leave his phone at home.
but it's also monitored through in the district office, in which we send alerts out. I know Mr. Thompson sends alerts out all the time, but they also come from my office to make sure you understand your kids should not be outside or following the specific rules that Georgia High School puts out.
And those alerts sent where?
Those are sent from us via email from the central office.
And if they don't check the email? I'm just, I mean,
we hope in
we
this
have
day
to
and-
really,
we hope in this day and time and the things that we've been through, they understand the importance and the danger that they can be putting our children and themselves in if they do not follow up on what they should do.
I get it. I just want to make sure that we have no breakdown in this process, that no harm come to a student, a scholar that we have, and we need to make sure that you need to go tap that coach on the shoulder. Don't take these kids out.
Yes, sir.
But we don't need to have any breakdowns. But I thank you for the alert system and what y'all doing.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Cooper.
Hey, Mr. Townsend.
Good evening.
Just a quick question, just a general question. So I think I saw you sent an email out too to everyone saying that the weather is at an extreme high heat. Did I see that?
Yes, we send
Okay,
those
and
out.
do we also inform like the parents that their kids, especially parents that have kids in sports, do we send that to them too, just so they know your kid wasn't outside today?
I know
Or
it's
is that
usually,
an option that we,
I know it's usually an email that comes from Mr. Thompson, his office, about the severe weather that's going on for that may be hazard that goes out to the entire community.
good deal. Thank you.
Yes, it's in our, we've been getting them. It's in our email every day. It goes out to the community. Ms. Baker.
I'm just wondering if we could go kind of old school and have like a light on in the gym that comes on that just like red, don't go outside. So that anybody who walks in the gym, if it's a substitute PE teacher, they know that if that red light's on, we don't go outside.
Well, the Perry Weather System has cameras at every school, and the siren and the light goes off saying if it's a hazardous condition, then they should be inside.
Because, like I said, I'm just trying to look old school, simple. I walk in, I know I don't go out. And honestly, the way the weather's going right about now, you probably aren't going outside till November.
Yes, ma'am.
Are there any other questions, board members? All right, thank you, Mr. Townsend.
I have one more question. Can you just repeat the high schools again? Thank you, Dr. Smith.
The high school is just under construction right now.
Yeah.
Their field is Forest Park,
Oh, Forrest.
Charles Drew, Riverdale, Jonesboro, Mundy's Mill, in both competition stadiums.
Good evening, Board Chair, Vice Chair, Superintendent, Board members, and community. Tonight, as the Executive Director of Operations, you have behind us Mr. Blackwood and John Crane as the Director and Assistant Director of Maintenance Facility Services. I apologize for that. And I'll let them speak to the work that these guys have been doing this summer. And they've been doing some outstanding stuff, so.
Thank you, Mr. Coger. Good evening, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, the rest of the board, and Dr. Smith. It's great to see you this evening. We have presented you with a list of bullet points. I'm not going to belabor that. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Board members, do you have any questions? Ms. Hill?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't have a question, but I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being here tonight to present. I did read over your bullets. I've seen your work. I know what you do, and we're better together. And you guys make this community and our county efficient, and you take good care of us. And I just want to say sincerely, thank you. You are appreciated, and your service is invaluable.
Thank you for your kind words. We appreciate that.
Ms. Baker?
I'd just like to piggyback and say thank you for all you do. I guess, my dad was in maintenance and I have a lot of respect for you. The one suggestion I'd make is that when I walked out of Drew on Saturday, there was trash all over the front, and that makes me very angry that people are there for a great thing and they decide to do that. So is it possible that we could have extra trash cans put around the facilities when we have something like that? Maybe they would be a little more willing to throw it away.
We did have an abundance of them. They just weren't respected and honored on that particular day, but I wish you'd gone by this afternoon. You would have seen a complete difference in that.
Oh, I know our maintenance people because I saw them cleaning before I left, but it was a little heartbreaking to see that kind of stuff. And I was just thinking maybe if we had a few more visible trash cans outside, maybe they would have taken the time to.
We understand that, and we will make sure that happens.
Ms. Cooper?
Hello. I'm going to piggyback on what they said. Thank you so much for all that you do, Mr. John, Mr. Blackwell, Mr. Sam. One thing that I do want to ask, because I never got an update on this, but there were some issues last year before we went out for the summer over at Morrow High School where it was kind of black, where you walk around to the football field in the back. It was like I guess a dead zone over there where it was really black. So if y'all could look into that and just, oh, okay. Oh, that's, all right. Okay. Sorry. Mr. Sam said, no, not tonight. It's not us.
Good evening. We are aware of the issue. Parking lot lighting is provided by Georgia Power. So we are in conversations with them to provide additional parking lighting at the backside of the facility.
Okay, so you'll give me an update. When do you think they will, especially with the season and everything?
Soon.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Haney?
Well, I want to say thank you as well. I'm looking at this and I was reading it last night, but I do want to thank you, particularly when you address those work orders. And I think you all know what I'm talking about. And that was done really quick. Also, just over the summer, not that I'm doing drive-bys, but when I'm driving by in the county, of course, in District 5, I was like, when do they stop cutting the grass? I mean, because they're out there every time cutting the grass in District 5. And I was like, that's what I'm talking about, because my advisory council, that's one of the main pain points they have is the yards, the grounds, and making sure that our schools are looking presentable. And so I just wanted to say thank you for that. And also the customer service. Now I have to say one of my schools, one of my middle schools, of course, Dr. Smith and myself and Dr. Hendrick, we have been explaining to the school that they're on the SPOS list and that certain things can't be done right now, but your staff, your team addressed those questions in a customer service manner that they were really pleased with. When I went over to meet the principal, that's the first thing they came up to me and said, we wanted paint, and they explained to us why we could not get the paint. Of course, we've explained that to them as well. But I asked them, I said, well, how did they talk? How did they, they said they were very professional. They didn't get smart with us, because the questions keep coming up to them the same time, every time they come over there. So I just want to say thank you for that, for exemplifying great customer service, which is needed within our departments. And I just thank you for that. So again, thank you. Keep D5 looking nice, as well as the other schools in the district, but particularly District 5. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you again for the kind words.
Well, gentlemen, I would also want to reiterate the with the compliments regarding the work that you've done to get our schools ready. And I especially wanted to thank Mr. Koger for taking care of that problem in front of the Professional Learning Center, because while that is not our property, the county continues to let that overgrow. And when people come past our properties, they think it's us. So, if you all, I think Ms. Cooper and I had also made an inquiry about, I believe it's at Fountain Elementary School, where we have I think it's kudzu or whatever. I know that's not ours, but it would be nice if you all could maybe just kind of cut it a little bit so that it's not on our property, because we know it's not ours, but when people come, they still think it's Clayton County Public Schools, and that would be greatly appreciated.
Yes, ma'am. We're addressing that. We have a plan in place at this time that we will exercise as soon as we get school started and everything up and running.
Right. And Ms. Baker mentioned trash cans. When I came to Drew, I think I probably might have been the first one. It looked pretty clean to me. But for those people that are watching us live or whatever, it would be really nice if the constituents of Clayton County could use a trash can and not dump furniture. And because I think that they actually spend a lot of time on our properties dumping stuff in our dumpsters. It really just, if you drive around Clayton County, it doesn't look really clean. And that's because people will eat, throw stuff out the window and all that type of stuff. So we would like to let people know that, it's nice to be clean, and especially please don't throw it on our property. Ms. Baker.
I was just going to make a suggestion for the kudzu. I think we should borrow some goats, and we can call it, animal science. I'm sure the little ones would love to see them, and there's nothing that takes care of kudzu quicker than goats. So just an idea.
You may be saying that in jest, but that is an exercise that we looked at, option that we look to exercise.
I am completely serious.
It's probably not the most feasible one at this point, but we do have some other options that we'll exercise as soon as we get school going.
All right. Any other questions, comments? Thank you all so much.
Members of the board, I'd like to let the board know that I did not mandate that these gentlemen put on suits, shave, or take a shower. They did that on their own.
They look really good too.
Greetings, board members from the Nutrition Services Department. You have my bullet points, and at this time, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Do we have questions, board members? Ms. Cooper.
Hello. I think one of my colleagues, some weeks ago, maybe some months ago, it was a training we were at, and we were talking about diversifying the food for the different cultures. Can you just give us an update as to where we're at with that?
Yes, we are introducing some new themed menus starting this school year. Wild Wings Wednesday was a hit for us last year. So we went and named the other 4 days of the week a themed menu, and I'm going to run them down for you real quick. So on Monday, we're going to be introducing mouth-watering Chicken Monday. This is a variety of all the chicken items. We're going to have roasted chicken, barbecue chicken, chicken patties, along with other items, but chicken is the main course of the day. Then on Tuesdays, we're introducing tacos and Global Taste Tuesdays. And on these days, we'll have the Latin themed cuisines. We'll have Italian. We'll have Latin, Italian. We're introducing Caribbean items where we're going to have jerk and curry and all different flavors of foods. Then Wild Wings Wednesday is coming back by popular demand. And for the first time, we're going to be introducing tender ribs and things Thursday. We're going to be having boneless rib riblet sandwiches, as well as rib tips. We're going to have a lot of home style items to offer our students and stakeholders. And on Friday, we're going to introduce fresh pizza and Fish Fridays, where we'll have individual pizzas, varieties of pizzas. We'll also have fish baskets. We'll have fish po' boy sandwiches. We'll have a variety of hush puppies and different things that our students will enjoy eating. So we are ramping up our menus because we're also doing 56 cafeteria redesign projects. So we're going to have some really nice cafeterias. So we want our menus to go along with what we're doing for our students with cafeterias.
So that's good for us to improve the menu, but seems like a lot of meat. What about people that are vegetarian?
Thank you. That's a good question. We're introducing some plant-based and some vegan items to our menus this year. We've gone out and we've sourced these items from different vendors. We're also going to be introducing a lot of breakfast items, grab-and-go breakfast, as well as hard-boiled eggs. We're going to have scrambled eggs on biscuits and croissants and English muffins. So our students will have a variety of not only lunch, but breakfast items as well.
So will the vegetarian items be available on a daily basis though?
Yes, they will.
So, okay, so they have a choice. Okay, Ms. Bowles.
You asked my question, Madam Chair. I was also curious about vegetarian, vegan, and halal students. And actually wonder about the status of a salad bar at any of our schools. I think that was a goal or a focus, or some schools have it and others don't, maybe high school and not others, but I was just curious about any initiatives for daily green fresh salads.
Salad bars. We do offer salads every day. However, they're individually packed.
Okay.
There aren't any schools in Clayton that have salad bars, and we've stayed away from those because of
COVID,
sanitation
yeah.
and security. And so we do have individually packed salads we offer every day.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I was going to point that out because as a cancer survivor, that was one of the things I was told not to eat salad bars. And I can remember not listening and how it affected my body. So that's not definitely, it's better to have them individually. All right, I wanted to commend, I was actually, visited West Clayton today during open house, and I was very impressed with how the cafeteria looked. I think they said they were waiting on tables. I think I saw, what's your school, Roberta P. Smith? Saw that the principal had posted a picture of how it looks, and Rex Mill is very becoming, and I think I saw North Clayton High School. So it was really good. I know that tables are coming in, so it's good to see the refresh.
Yes, thank you very much. All those projects are 100% school nutrition funded. And I wanted to invite the board to go out and look at some of the projects. We have North Clayton High, as Ms. Gorey mentioned, Terra Elementary, Rex Mill, Eddie White, Mount Zion Primary, King Elementary, Lee Street, North Clayton Middle, Oliver, and there are more coming. The project is to conclude on June 30th, 2024. All the 56 schools should be completed by then.
All right, Mr. Straker.
Yes, Ms. Hamilton, and I want to commend you on the vendor in which you chose to complete these projects. That was excellent.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments?
I'd like to thank Mrs. Hamilton and her staff for raising the bar and meeting my challenge of providing a more exciting dining experience for our students and staff. And they've done just that, not just the ambience, but the food itself. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I don't see any other. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, do we have someone else? I thought I saw transportation.
Yeah, don't be shy, Mrs. Hall.
Come on and show that dress you got on. Oh, okay, maybe technology. I saw you in the line. Okay, come on, Brad. Mr. Smith.
So before you review the bullets, what I would like to say is that technology has been actively sweeping schools and preparing for day one. Two main things I'd like to highlight about the bullets. Last year, we had several complaints from teachers and administrators about the speediness at which we were getting them their credentials and their devices. I want to say that process has improved tremendously this year. Along with business services and HR and technology being the last part of that process, we have cut that number way down. The other big bullet that I'd like to at least highlight is that we do now have a new Chromebook procedures guidelines and handbook that we created that went out, I believe, a couple of days ago, along with some trainings for teachers. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about any of those bullets.
Are there any questions, board members? I don't see any lights.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation.
Good evening, everyone. Transportation has shared their updates, and I'm available to answer any questions that you may have.
Well, I'll ask a question since no one's light has popped up. How many have we started with our electric buses yet this year?
We're in the process. The electric buses build are a year out. We're in the process. Within the next 30 days, we'll be breaking ground and putting the infrastructure in. The holdup is some of the parts, like it's a year out before we can get the transformers from Georgia Power. And so we have vendors that are getting the charging stations, but they don't have anywhere to house them right now. So the first thing is the transformers, then the charging stations, and we're in the process of building the buses now.
All right, Ms. Baker, I see your light.
I just wanted to say thank you for all that you're going to do, and prayers for that first day of school, that first week, and probably longer than that. But y'all have so many students to move around, and you guys, you do hard work, and we just want to thank you for it.
Thank you.
Ms. Bowles.
Good evening. I was going to echo much of what Ms. Baker said in anticipation of getting all our scholars through. That's a big job. And nevertheless, every first day, first week and first month, you got those calls or those emails from scholars who've bus stops have changed or parents are questioning. And so my question to you is, what is the protocol that y'all want to hear from parents who want to hop on the phone and find a solution or get answers? Is there like a hotline or what should parents or scholars do throughout these early days where there's bound to be some hiccups? How do they get information?
So we have two different ways. Typically, every day, AM and PM, we send information to the schools. This year, Dr. Simpson has worked with Dr. Colbert and Dr. Young to shore up, to make sure that we have liaisons that work with transportation to be able to foster information and to help us get information to the parents. We also have the bus tracking app that parents and students can use. We're trying to get the numbers up. We transport 28,000 students, but only 6,000 parents and students are registered to use the app. So you saw us at the back to school bash. We'll be more engaged going to the schools to get those numbers up so that they can start using the app to be able to track the progress as well. And also we got a blessing to get 3 customer service reps, so that will help with the call volume. So we have 3 representatives that take the calls in addition to our dispatchers.
That's amazing. And the bus app is awesome. So just parents need to download it. But then you said we're getting 3 customer service reps.
We have them. They've been in effect for about 6 months now.
Amazing. Where's that phone number?
The phone number is the main number, and all of the calls are fostered in. So it's the main extension. We had calling trees before, but because I wanted to make sure that we were responsive, we don't have the ability to opt out. The calls come in through the main number for all lines.
What is the main number?
The main number is 678 or 473-2830.
473-2830. And that's the transportation's main number.
Yes, ma'am. We
Awesome.
have our own number.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Haney.
Hey, Ms. Hall.
Hey.
Can you explain what is Operation Red Tag?
So Operation Red Tag is something that we created last year. We are trying to be more responsive to our babies. And so because we have open routes, we have subs that cover different routes. We started red tagging all of our students that are pre-K through first grade. So while my driver may not know the student, if they get the child off the bus and the child has a red tag on their book bag, that means that an adult should be there to retrieve them. And if they're not, they need to put them back on the bus and take them back to school. We're in the process of also working with Dr. Colbert and Dr. Young because we also have RFID readers on every bus, and we have RFID reader cards where the children can scan on the bus and we know their whereabouts. We use Point South Elementary as a pilot last year, and they did not have one missing student. So Dr. Colbert said that they would work with us to gradually phase it into all of the schools as a better way to track the students.
So has it already been implemented, the red tag, or will that be
The
implemented when
red
school
tag will be
starts?
implemented the second week of school.
So when I see my
You're gonna
at
see
the
your
bus
baby's
stop, I'm
red
gonna
tag.
red
If you
tag.
see a
So
red tag, a parent has to be there or some designee to pick them up.
okay. Now, do parents have to be there? I'm seeing this with the elementary children being there. What time do they need to be at their bus stop? They have to be at school at 6:45. What time are they needing to be at the stops?
The times vary.
Vary, okay.
Our routes don't start before 6. And so the times vary because we've got over 300 routes. So
Mhm.
no route is identical. The
Right.
times vary, but we don't start picking up until 6. But we needed the buses to be receiving the schools to receive the students by 6:45 because the elementary tier has the largest tier of students to transport. We've got 4,000 more elementary babies than any other tier. And so we need more time to be able to drop off. And we've got 52 routes that have an A and a B load because of the increased ridership. So we're looking at trying this first and getting the data to talk and have additional conversations about changing the bell schedules. Realistically, the high school tier is the largest tier to travel to drop off students, and we don't have enough time. So that's why the routes are constantly late. So we bumped up the time to receive at 6:45. So we have enough time to be able to pick up the students, and it should improve our arrival times.
Okay, thank you.
What are the hours for each grade level? For elementary starting time, high school starting time, and then middle school?
I think it's 7:45 for elementary. I know it is 8:10 for high school and then 8:45 for middle school.
All right, thank you, Ms. Hill.
7:45 for elementary, 8:10 for high school and 8:45 for middle school.
Thank Ms. Hill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I don't have any questions. You've answered them with my colleagues, but I just want to say thank you. Thank you for the innovation. I was very impressed to see the app and hope that our scholars and their parents take advantage of it. And just want to wish you guys the very best as we start this school year.
Thank you.
Ms. Cooper.
Hi, just really quickly. I ran into a bus driver, one of the bus drivers at my event this past weekend, and I was just asking her, was she ready? And she was like, yeah, we've already started our routes, going through it, making sure that we had everything. And I see that you say it's a shortage here. So I wanted to see, is there a way, and this might be a Dr. Smith question, is there a way that we can tie in the village on patrol? Because that position we do pay. I know in school they can go and be a hall monitor or whatever and get paid for doing that up to 4 hours. Is that something that we've ventured looking into or talked about? Because I see one of your points is student discipline and bus safety. Or is there some law where we don't want to venture into that area?
So anyone who operates a commercial vehicle has to have a CDL. It's a stringent process. It takes about 2.5 months to onboard new CDL candidates. We do everything in-house, but for us, we'll explore all opportunities. We do have a lot of retirees that come back and drive for us, and we actually have some of our staff that are going into the school. So the school patrols that you see or some of the campus support, those are our staff that are going into the schools to help. So we're not opposed to having them come and get CDLs, but they have to want to come and get them. We have it open for anybody who'd like to apply. And we do go to job fairs. We are out advertising. We have devices where we're scanning in. It's a part of the bullet presentation for the back to school program. And we had tables set up so that we can get parents registered. And we also had a bus outside that anyone saw that we were hiring. So we were trying to give them the ins and outs of the buses. So I had staff outside letting them know that we were hiring as well.
All right. I came by there the other couple of weeks ago, and I see that you all have they completed with the naming of the facility at the Jonesboro facility?
Yes, ma'am. We're complete at both. Dr. Smith is going to do the ceremony mid-August
Mhm.
so that we can allow Ruby and BJ's parents, family members to come in because it's a big deal for them. So we did acknowledge them today in our back to school meeting and had them stand up, and everybody's happy about the renaming of both facilities.
Okay, we're looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
And as most of our board members, thank you for the job that you've been doing. Despite the shortages, you all will be the first people that will see our students on day one. And board members, if you all are getting on buses, make sure you get permission from the superintendent. So if somebody might want to ride the bus now, I don't like to get on those buses myself. I stop at the door. I might fuss at somebody, but I'm not about to put my foot up there. So anyway, so if you all are doing it, make sure that Dr. Smith knows, because all righty, and thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, wait a minute. Is Ms. Cooper, do you have a comment?
So, Madam Chair, I don't think we got an update from safety and security.
Well,
I think we missed that.
I'm not, that's on Dr. Smith, but I mean, I was looking at safety and security myself, but I
There's
don't
a
think I
slide.
saw it I don't know if it's a slide. I don't know if we skipped them. We're not, I don't think we're done. I'm just telling her to go have a seat. She's done.
There's a school readiness.
I said for her. that
Mr.
she
Thompson
could
is coming up to
sit
provide a
down.
school readiness update, Dr. Cole.
So,
You can join him if you like.
Good evening,
okay.
Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, board members, Dr. Smith. As you know, this year, the Georgia State Assembly amended the Safe School Act. In that amendment, it required school districts to provide their safety plans to GMA at the state level. Now, historically, that was done probably 5 to 10 years ago. Then GMA put that back down at the county level. And we've been doing that, but we've kind of layered it. And over the last several years, we've been reporting our state safety plans to GMA. So they already have that. They've approved our safety plans. This year, they also require that we have our intruder drills before October 1. So we're scheduling our schools and mandating that they conduct their intruder drills before October 1, preferably in the middle of September. Also, yearly or annually, our schools are required to conduct the first fire drill, the first 10 days of school opening, and then a secondary fire drill by the end of August. And then September, they won't be required to conduct a fire drill because they'll conduct their intruder drill in place. What we're trying to do is balance safety with the load that the schools are operating under for the first few weeks of school. So that's where we're at right now. We're complying with the new state amendments. They've seen our safety plans, and I'd like to share that plan with the board at maybe an upcoming retreat so that you can be intimately familiar with our processes and new practices that we've adopted. Any questions?
Ms. Baker.
Okay, I hate that we have to do intruder drills. I hate that on so many levels. But as a preschool teacher, I refuse to scare my little ones to death. So in my case, we played hide and seek from the director. And I had my little ones and I told them we were playing hide and seek and she was going to come and she was going to rattle our doors and we had to be really, really quiet to win the game. I have never had 15 3-year-olds so quiet in my entire life. And she rattled our doors and she banged on them. And when we got done with the drill, we went down to her office and went, "We won." So I would just suggest that for our little ones, as long as we can keep them as innocent as they can be for as long as we can, let's not scare them to death, because you don't want children coming to school every day worried that today is the day. So that's just my 2 cents.
Yes, ma'am. Administrators have that latitude. They also can opt out of, have their students opt out of some of these drills. So we have those options in the amendment.
Did you say administrators can opt out?
Well, the parents can allow their students to opt out. If a
Okay.
parent doesn't want them to participate in the drill, I'm sorry if I didn't make myself clear, but the parent can have their students opt out.
All right, I hope we have some conversations with parents that will want to opt out, because actually I don't recall us, I've been told that we were going to do some of these drills, but I don't recall us doing, have we actually done an active shooter drill with our students yet?
Yeah, yes, they're called lockdown drills. It's an exercise where if we're going into different levels of a lockdown, which there can be a
You
soft
say,
lockdown.
you talking about the lockdowns?
Yes, ma'am.
No, I'm talking about a real drill. When are we going to do a real drill?
Well, I think we've done Chief Walker.
Good evening. We have done real drills. The last real drill we've conducted was about 2 years ago at East Clayton, right as they opened. But we do not use the elementary school students. At that particular drill, we used college students from Clayton State University to act as students on school property.
Okay, I'm just saying that considering the fact that not this past school year, but the year before that, with 100 weapons being found, that we might need to, if we do tornado drills, we do fire drills, this is for real, that we should be thinking about, as Ms. Baker said, we don't want to scare everybody, but we know what the reality is. Because I always try to make sure that I'm aware of my surroundings, but I just think at some point, we need to be prepared. Ms. Cooper.
Just one question. I don't know if this is Chief that would answer it or you can answer it. Have we tested all the metal detectors to make sure that everything's working properly in all of our schools before day one?
Yeah, we're testing them right now.
Okay,
Yes.
good deal.
Right. Camera operations, metal detectors, wanding, all of that equipment has been tested. Yes, ma'am.
All right. And I think that they probably work really well, but the human element of administrators not turning them off, and people, we know students come in late and walking through a building and seeing students just on the hallway and not anyone addressing or doing sweeps. We need to make sure that people are accounted for. Okay, any other comments, questions? All right, have we covered everything in
Okay, thank you.
this session?
For administrative services, now Dr. Crawford will provide an update from student support services.
Okay.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the board, and Superintendent Smith and community. Today, I'm here to provide a superintendent's update on community schools.
Not communities in school, community school.
Community schools.
Yes.
So community schools directly align with our strategic goal number 3, It is an equity strategy that allows us to use resources and wraparound supports to eliminate barriers for the community, which aligns directly with our goal. So what is a community school? Community schools are local engagement strategies that promote the coordination of resources through a dedicated school-based community school supervisor coordinator. We have our educators, our local community members, our families and students coming together to strengthen conditions to support student learning by eliminating barriers. The community coordinating services supervisor, that person has a resource of hubs that they pull together for that specific community based on that particular needs that's determined by a needs assessment. They're based on 4 pillars the community schools is based on 4 pillars. It's based on expanded instruction, active family and community engagement, integrated student supports to include health, wellness, and other wraparound supports, and then collaborative leadership practices by key stakeholders to address academic and non-academic barriers. And I'll share some examples of these. Clayton County Community Schools, currently we have 3 community schools that started last year. Those are Eddie White, Forest Park Middle, and North Clayton High School. We will add a 4th one this year, which is Jonesboro Middle School. Our community schools were strategically selected and located in various locations to promote equity as we determine the needs in these particular communities. Now, some examples of the integrated student supports that are provided through community schools. We have our health and social services. These are like our school-based health centers, our mental and dental care services, and we also have expanded educational programs. This is above and beyond the after-school programs, tutorial services, and enhanced access to our school libraries and our recreation centers. We also have other need-based services such as parent education classes. We have job training and workforce development for our community, housing assistance, and nutrition programs. An example of this in action, I know you probably heard about our Wellness Wednesdays. We had our Wellness Wednesdays, which included our food, healthcare, and workforce development for our families, and we had over 500 families to participate in just a 4-week period. So just imagine the impact we'll have when we have them in our schools starting full-time throughout the year. So what we've done is we've done a reboot and we're restarting the program. And one of the things we're resetting, we're building a new foundation to provide clarity in roles and responsibilities that align with the board and Dr. Smith's key priorities. So there's a timeline of action steps that you'll see here that can be expected to ensure full implementation of this beneficial strategy. I won't read all of them to you, but because they're listed there, but just a few, like building the foundation, making sure that we have the appropriate training and expectations set for our key staff members, having a needs assessment, a comprehensive needs assessment done so that we can use that data to determine which resources we need to match with the needs of our families. So, and then also develop an implementation plan to address food and housing insecurities. And last but not least, once we have that full year of implementation, we'll then make sure that we're ready and set to submit the federally funded community schools grant application, which will help us to build sustainability for the programming. And with any program, you have to have an effectiveness measure, which will be done through our monitoring and support plan. We'll use data from the comprehensive needs analysis to identify our performance goals. From there, we have a monitoring plan that includes a tool and assignment of key staff members to conduct the monitoring and a timeline. And then we'll also have partnership with Metro RESA, where they'll monitor our community schools and provide technical support and oversight of the program, of the strategy. Now, what can you do? How can you support it, board? Well, you can share information about our community schools. You can host events at our community schools. You can direct families to our community schools. And then you can also acknowledge our community partners, because we want to make sure that we thank them for providing these resources free of cost to our students. Superintendent Smith, that's all I prepared. I'm available for questions.
All right, so you all switched the high school. You moved from North Clayton Middle to North Clayton High School?
It's at North Clayton High School.
Yeah, last year when they did it, they had the center being at North Clayton Middle.
Okay.
But that's great.
Yes.
I mean, it's great. It seems like they're in close proximity. It would seem, well, I don't know, but it's great that it's there. And I'm glad that you're adding the fourth school, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Because I had mentioned to them maybe trying to do north, south, east, west.
That's it.
And so, yeah, that's a great thing. And definitely we have, you have our support because we definitely know it will help our students.
Thank you.
So are there any other comments? Now, when you came out, you said community schools, which is different from communities and schools. But I will ask you a quick question. So do we have have we added any other schools for communities in schools? Or,
What we're currently doing is assessing that and looking at possibly adding a few schools, yes. And that will be, I don't want to call it off the top of my head, but I think it's 4 elementary schools.
Okay.
That we're looking at adding for the upcoming school year that community schools will be funding for us. Communities in schools.
For this school year or next school year?
For
3
this
years.
upcoming school year, and they'll fund it for the next 3 years.
He said something, so.
They will provide those schools, that service in those 4 schools for the next 3 years.
But it starts this year, to answer your question.
I'm asking about communities in schools. Have we added any
Yes.
schools?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so if you all could send us that information.
We will be adding them, and once they give us the MOU and we sign that and go forward with the agreement, we'll be ready to share that information.
Okay, and also, okay, very good. Ms. Hill.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I just want to say thank you for what we're doing in our communities in school. Now, I do believe that it's a little unique in how we do it. Am I understanding there will be wraparound services and resources? Is it in addition to our day-to-day operations, or is there a unique way that we're going to roll it out and how we do school as a whole?
It's specific to those particular schools, so it's above and beyond what we already provide. And we have a dedicated person that will make sure that they use specific needs assessments to determine, hey, they need, for instance, we have a problem around attendance. They may develop an attendance strategy and pull all the different people in to work on specific strategies appropriate to that community with attendance.
Okay, thank you. And yes, you have my full support.
Thank you.
Ms. Cooper.
Just really, I'm down here. So just really quickly, for myself and just for the community, and because I know Ms. Gorey, she said it a couple of times to make sure that people understood there's a difference. So can we just go ahead and just explain? You did for the first one, but just do it just so people will understand.
Okay.
If they're watching.
No, that's a good point, because it can be confusing. The names are very similar. So communities in schools deal with that specific school. Community in schools is a community of resources for a community of schools. So if I'm at North Clayton High School, for instance, North Clayton Middle students can come. The Northcutt students can come and get these same supports, but those strategies with community schools is specific to that particular school versus community schools having a community approach of all of those schools surrounding that school. And that's why it was important, like Ms. Gorey said, to have different ones, so we hit target areas across the district.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
So last year, I believe I know Ms. Hill and I attended the presentation of maybe also Ms. Williams. Were you there too, Ms. Baker? So we had a presentation last year on it. And I guess later on, since they showed us, I think it was a school in Florida, where actually the students start off with things such as, early care, the school day, and then they actually have after school care, and they receive meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner. So I guess we're kind of in a developmental stage as to will we be adding those things. Now, we currently have after school care that we pay for, and we have before school care. I guess we still have it that we pay for. So it seems to me like in those particular schools, I don't think they paid for it. So we're in a developmental stage as to how we'll address that?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. We're in a developmental stage, and one of the things that they do is look at that needs assessment analysis to determine, hey, what is that need? So if they say we have a lot of kids who don't have before school care, that's something that they would work with the community with to look for those services that are provided at no cost to that particular school community.
Okay. Mr. Straker.
Yes, good evening. What associations or coalitions are we going to be participating in order to learn the best practices of community schools?
Say that one more time, I'm sorry.
An association, a coalition, what are we associating ourselves with?
There is a coalition. I'm sorry, I have to get that name for you that they work with them.
The Coalition of Community Schools.
Yeah, it's a coalition of community schools, but it's
Are we attending any of those conferences?
we will attend the conference, and we will have the appropriate training. We will have the support from Metro RISA. So we'll have the extensions, and we will go and visit exemplars, districts that are doing it well. A lot of schools in Georgia are in the implementation phase.
Right.
So we're looking outside of that to see, let's see what's happening so that we can replicate those those best practices.
Do you have a model that's off the top of your head? If you don't, it's okay. But do you know a school in the nation that's doing really well with community schools?
Philadelphia was, a school in Philadelphia was told to us as a model, but they were going to get that specific district and share that with us.
Fantastic. Thanks.
All right, are there any other questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Crawford. And now we'll hear from our Business Services Chief, Ms. Bivens.
Good evening again, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, board members, and Superintendent Dr. Smith. All right, this evening, we have the financial report. So that you know, the financial reports are intended to assist the board with its fiduciary and oversight responsibility regarding the financial condition of the district. Our board policy indicates that the level of spending may not exceed the amount budgeted for a particular fund without the board's approval. As of June, this will say June 30th, but it says June 31st, but it's June 30th. This is our preliminary fiscal year, end of the year actuals. We have collected $577.3 million. That's 105% over what we budgeted. And our total expenditures were at 568.8, and that's 103% over what was actually budgeted. We actually have a budget amendment later on at the end of the meeting to amend the budget so our revenues and expenditures will equal. Any questions about the budget comparison for the general fund?
Any questions?
Next, we have the SPLOST report. As you know, the Special Purpose Local Option Sales Tax provides the primary source of funding for the school district for all of its capital needs. We are in the 6th SPLOST program approved by the voter referendum, and this report shows the monthly cumulative, the report that you received shows the monthly cumulative and average collections. This particular report shows what was received for the month of June. For this year was $5,365,469 compared to $5,595,825 last year. And as you also are aware, when we report this, what we received in June was actually for the prior month. So we showed an estimate of what we thought we would receive for July, for June, and that's $5 million. We actually received that, and I believe it was at $5.5 million. So it's a little more than what we collected last year at the same time. Any questions regarding the SPLOST collection report?
Are there any questions? I don't see any.
Okay. And the next item will be our purchasing report. And according to board policy DJEAA, the purchase of any non-consumable item with a value of $50,000 or more and the purchase of a group of non-consumable items from a single vendor on individual or sequential purchase orders with a value of $50,000 or more shall be approved by the Board of Education prior to purchase and/or prior to the execution of any agreement to purchase. This policy also requires that at the regular monthly Board of Education meeting, the superintendent or designee will provide a report of all purchases greater than the $10,000 which were approved during the prior month and not previously approved by the board. In response to the policy, the purchasing department has included a detailed account of all purchases and contracts with a value exceeding $50,000 that require board approval, and also attached or spreadsheet reports for, the first one is for consumable purchases with a value of $10,000 or more. And we'll entertain any questions that you may have regarding report A.
Are there any questions, board members?
Okay, the next is report B, which is non-consumable purchases made with a value of $10,000 or more, but less than $50,000. Any questions regarding those on report B?
Are there any questions?
Okay, and the final one is report C. These are non-consumable items with a value of $50,000 or more that require board approval as detailed in the executive summary previously submitted to you. Any questions regarding those?
Any questions? Now, I'm just going to say this, since we just had a presentation regarding our status and we don't have any questions about the financial report. I just want the public to know that we try to have a small group questioning, meetings with the CFO. So we don't want you all to think that we're not aware. It's that this is probably one of the reports that we do have the most information about. It's just that our problem right now is the auditing part. It's not our finances. So we have the money. We just haven't been doing a good job with putting it in the right place at the right time, and misinformation. But we appreciate you, Ms. Bivens.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bivens. Mr. Joseph.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Smith. You have received the SPLOST construction update. This month, there were 3 payments totaling $3,005,687. There was one change order that was deductive for Forest Park Middle School demolition in the amount of a negative $38,750. Are there any questions about ongoing projects?
Ms. Baker.
I don't have a question. I just wanted to let you know that I've been talking to some people. I took my husband up to Morrow High School, and he was blown away. So, and that's the comments I keep getting is, I can't believe I used to go to Jonesboro High School, and that's Jonesboro High School now. And I can't believe that this school looks like this. And so kudos to you, your staff, all of you.
Thank you. It's a teamwork effort from all parties, including operations. More to come. We had a cross-functional meeting for North Clayton High School, and we're excited what we have seen, and I can't wait to present to the board what's to come.
All right, well, I'm glad did you just say North Clayton High School?
I intentionally said
I'm
North Clayton
so
High School.
glad that you brought that up. Now, since you have that Barry White voice, it's kind of like on, the Charlie Brown. Can you repeat what you just said?
I was saying to Ms. Baker that more to come. North Clayton High School is the next project to come. We had a collaborative meeting with the many parties, and we were excited with what we saw. So once we have settled the situation in terms of the land, we will work with all stakeholders and present the official design for North Clayton High School.
And who are the stakeholders?
The entire community, the principal, the families, the students, similar to what we did at Morrow High School. We had collaboration meetings with all parties. And so we will continue to do that for all ongoing projects.
All right. I noticed everybody, I didn't hear anything about the board members that represent the school, but we will be conducting a meeting with all the stakeholders because we need to have a conversation about what's going in that school. Because I guess we didn't, I don't recall being invited to the other meetings. So we just need to have those meetings scheduled. Thank you so much. You're doing a great job. We can't wait till
Yes, ma'am.
we start digging. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Joseph. Ms. Albritton.
Oh, that's all right. I'll be sending an email to the board. Go ahead, Ms. Albritton.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, other members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Smith, colleagues, and community members. The Personnel Changes Report summarizes all personnel actions for the period of June 9th through July 17th, 2023. All HR updates were submitted to the Board of Education for your review. I will highlight the number of vacancies that we had at the time of submission, which is about 100 less than this time last year. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Do we have questions, board members? Mr. Straker.
Thank you for the report. Is it possible later on to get us a report on the demographics of our 7,500 employees, just a breakdown of the races, nationalities, things of that sort?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Ms. Hill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I just want to say thank you, Ms. Albritton. Just still going back to what we talk about often and when we're getting these resignations and, the reason why. I mean, is there anything that I'm missing as to when we're getting the responses? Do we have a corrective plan of actions when people are very specific and how we address that and what we can do better?
Yes. So what we started doing spring semester of last school year was when a separating employee includes specific information in their exit survey responses, those are shared with the deputy superintendent for that area or the chief, depending on the area and how it's organized, along with Dr. Hendricks. And then those parties address those concerns as best we can based on the information that was included.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? I don't think we have any other questions. Ms.
Thank you.
Albritton.
Thank you, Ms. Albritton. That concludes our updates to the board.
All right, board members, the next items are board matters. We have policy series I. This is the third read and vote. This is an action item. Now, I want to point out something in the policy I, because we have one of the policies that we revised was the revision for the policy IBB charter schools. And we had two charter schools that were on the agenda for, I believe it was June, and we took them off. In looking at our policy, I'm wondering whether or not we're in compliance with, well, maybe this is the upcoming policy, but for next year, but we have a new administration, and it seems to me like we didn't follow what the rules were the beginning of first semester. So we kind of have a situation now. Dr. Young sent us an email, and she mentioned that we have the favor, promise. Is it favor promise? Okay, and well, initially the email we got just had the one charter, but we're getting information for the 2 charters that we didn't receive before. And we're going to add them to the agenda for next week. So everyone, please read the information that's given to you. It might be very time consuming. So just giving you a warning now, because we are actually not in compliance. We need to read those. The staff is going to read them and they're going to make a recommendation, and then it will come to us for a vote. I pulled it because last time all we received was a letter, but no information regarding. And I want everybody to understand that when we do the agenda, that is between the chair, the vice chair, and the superintendent. And when information doesn't come, that is my duty to do so. So that is why things get pulled, for everybody's clarity. So that information will be added, and we will be voting on it next week. All right, I believe since this is but let me get a little clarity here, Mr. Doyle. Since this is the 3rd read and the vote, should we do that vote tonight, or should we wait until, and Ms. Garrett, you can help weigh in on, should we be voting on this tonight, or should this be next Monday for Series I? Because I don't see it on the agenda for next week.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the board, Superintendent. Mr. Doyle and I just conferred, what we believe is that we could put it as an action item for next week, because we want to ensure that there's no confusion. Given that we're also going to bring the actual favor, I think we have favor. Do we have 2? I think it's
Yes,
just favor. So
Mhm.
we can actually bring the vote, and then we can come back, and then you all can vote on the actual charters. Because right now it's currently indicating August, but if you vote this evening, the new policy as effective tonight will be June as the date. Does that make sense?
So the answer is no, we're not
No,
voting
don't vote
tonight.
tonight, right. Vote, we're gonna bring it for next week so that we can make sure it's concurrent, so that there's no confusion, since this new item will show us June as the CCBOE action date.
Okay, so we'll do that next week. Okay, that's good. All right, thank you. All right, the next item for board matters is policy series G. This is the first read. Do we have anything that we need to add? Ms. Cooper?
Madam Chair, this is just a question for you, because I know back in the executive session, we were talking about something in the G policy, and being that it's only highlighting that one area, can we go back and add the other? Yeah, GBD, I think it was, we were talking about. Or maybe Clem, I don't know who needs to.
Yes,
answer
Madam
it.
Chair, I can weigh in on that if that's okay.
Okay.
My thought is that we consider, and maybe Ms. Tellis Cooper and I can come up with some potential language that the board can consider to touch up this, which the board could consider when it does its 2nd read, which I think is in a month or so, something like that. That's just one way you could proceed, Madam Chair, if that makes sense.
Right.
It does. And I think it was a collaborative thing too, so I want to include the entire board if this is something we want to do. So if.
Okay, this is not the entire board is included. We are on the first read. And since we discussed it, it is now, when we come back, we'll have a second read. That is when you submit your information. So, and it's not technically the entire board. You put your information in, and then collectively, we're gonna have a policy, because that's what you all aren't understanding is we're saying we want the whole board. The whole board sometimes can't do things. The whole board can't, if anything that the whole board does, it has to be in public. So
Yeah.
what you're gonna do is read what we have. We had a discussion, great discussion. So let's everybody, submit to the whole board.
Okay, good,
What- yeah.
perfect. Thank you.
Right, that's what I'm trying to make everybody understand. You can't hold board things, certain things. If you want to hold board it, then it means you're gonna do it out in the public. So sometimes you need to kind of do some things in small groups and then come back together and then do it in the public.
Okay.
And that's what we're
Madam
gonna
Chair.
do. So we'll be doing, so next, I think that will be the next work session.
Okay,
So yeah, definitely we need the input.
all right. Well, thank you, Clem.
Okay.
I'll be in touch.
Yes, and when like I said, for this to be whole board, whatever you're sending, copy the whole board so that everybody knows what everybody has to say on that. All right, next policy is policy series M. This is also the first read. Now, there's nothing listed here. So I don't see an attachment.
It said there were no edits.
So I understand that. So I'm just looking for, it's on here, so do you all want to put anything on here or? That's,
Good evening again. No, there were no administrative nor general counsel edits, but we do bring it to the board in case, just as you just mentioned, if the members of the board do have some edits that you want to recommend
Right.
or you want to send to us for the second read so that we can add those. But we
Right.
do bring you every policy series so that every year it does show that our board collectively does review those policies in the spirit of advocacy and in terms of citizenship and governance.
all right, so could you all just put the policy on there next time and
Yes,
just put the no edits?
Yes.
Because the board might still look at it and decide that we want to add some things to it. So if you'll do that.
Do you want them for all of them? We stopped putting them on because the concern was that they're voluminous. Do you want us to bring them to?
Well, no, I just wanted them to be added because just so everybody can read them, and then decide whether they want to,
So-
just make them as an attachment.
As an attachment. and
Just
that's
for
every
information.
series? Do you
Yes.
want that for every series? Okay.
Right. mhm.
We will go back to that process.
Okay, thank you. All right, now, for some reason, there should be we have the local board of education training plan. You have a slide for it. Now, I wanted to, the reason, go ahead, can you all see that? We're actually gonna have to send it to you because we actually had a little situation this time trying to get the board packet put in e-board. We didn't have everything. We actually did have this, but I think that Ms. Bow puts it in. And so it's not in e-board, and we actually need to have it added. So the see that far myself. We need to have training. All of us are veteran board members. So I believe we need to have the 9 hours of whole board training, and we listed a few. So I'm putting this up here because some of you all have decided that you're going to go to some conferences, and we will add those things. Also, we need to take into consideration, Mr. Doyle sent me a schedule, and I'm going to email everyone because it is a requirement that we have whole board training. If you want to do additional training, as we have been doing in the past, you are free to do so. But please be reminded that the training that you select, you will not get credit from the state, from conferences outside of the state, but it's good information and training, and you have the liberty to go where you want to except when you use up your money, then that will be it. So you have an amount of money to use for conferences, for travel, and you're free to select what you want. Send that to Ms. Blackwood, and she will get you registered. So this is just generic. We need to I believe we need to turn it in by what, September 30th, Ms. Blackwood? Because I can't see it, but it was supposed to be placed in e-board. It just didn't make it. Ms. Baker.
I was just going to say what you said, that members just need to be aware that not all conferences count as training. I don't understand that, but that's the way it is. So just keep that in mind when you pick those conferences.
Right. And make sure, I think everybody on the board has certain initiatives. So look at conferences that support your initiative. And so everyone won't be at the same conference. And then that's another conversation that we need to have about, because sometimes it would help if we divide it up in certain people. If we're going to, let's say, for example, we were members of NSBA, and we're a red state, so we're no longer a member of NSBA, but because they realize how much money they're losing because we're not members, now they're saying that we can attend conferences. I think some of you all are going to CUBE. That's a a great conference. There are other NAPSI. There's Ms. Cooper and I were having a conversation about early childhood. There's NACI. It's a good time for you to maybe email some of the people in the district to maybe they could give you some suggestions as to some of the conferences that they will be attending. And we'll be getting information after we get school started. Just as Ms. Dr. Crawford had mentioned, that particular conference, you might be interested in community schools. Not community in schools, but community schools. And you might want to attend, one of those conferences. So just whatever is going to fit your need. But remember that this training is through Mr. Doyle and his company. And this is the whole board training that we're supposed to do together. And hopefully we will apply for something maybe different from exemplary board. We did submit the application for that, but we would like, we need a board that's working together to achieve the goals of the school district. Are there any questions? All right. All right, so now we're going down to the business agenda for action. And before you hit those lights, I'm not taking a motion for this particular agenda because we need to add some things to it. So under, Ms. Battle, if you'll look and help me out with this, and also Ms. Blackwood and the other board members. So looking at this particular agenda that we attached, we will need to add a business action, under business action. I can't see today. Come on, help me, Vice Chair.
Business action.
Yeah,
Georgia Education, Department of Education.
I'm talking about, we need to add, wait a minute, maybe I can see this one a little bit. I can't read but okay, under the business agenda for action, that's number 11. We need to add policy
Series
I. And we need to add, we're gonna do that vote, right, Dr. Young, for the charter schools. So we need to add a vote on the charter schools, which would be favor and movement. And movement. Okay. Actually, I think, you know what, I'm thinking, wait a minute. All right, before we go to this, I need to backtrack. We need to approve the tentative board training. Can I get a motion for us to approve the annual local education training plan? I think I see Ms. Baker's light first.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve a tentative training as.
Well, maybe I shouldn't say tentative. We'll just say the annual local board
Then we'll do
training
it as
plan, and then we'll adjust the dates.
I move that we accept the training as currently presented.
Okay. And I need a second, Mr. Christmas. All right, it's been moved and properly second that we accept the proposed annual local education training. Please vote. All right, and it is unanimous. Okay, so that's done. So now we're back on the agenda item. So we just need to add those two items, I believe. Actually, you all are going to speak on that as well, right? Dr. Young, won't you have to give us somewhat of a presentation? Okay, so then we need to go back up and yeah, we might need to put an update to the board. I would say make it a Roman numeral. We'll move it up to 10 and then make the consent agenda item 11. And then those other items that we added will be item 12. And then the adjournment will be item 13. Does everybody see what? Okay. So I need a motion for us to.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
since we did not speak on the consent agenda item E, are we keeping that on the agenda?
Item
E, under the consent agenda for next week.
Oh, yes. Oh, thank you, Mr. Christmas. We'll remove item E. And then the item E will be personnel changes report on the consent agenda. Thank you so much. Quite confusing. All right, does everybody understand all the changes? Okay, so can I get a motion for the agenda, the proposed agenda for the meeting for August 7th? Mr. Christmas?
Do we accept the agenda as stated?
All right, thank you. And a second, Ms. Baker.
Second.
All right, thank you. So let's vote, please. All right, and it is a unanimous vote. All right, the next item that we have for this evening is the adoption of the millage rate.
Good evening again. This evening, we're asking the board to do the final adoption of the 2023 millage rate, which supports the fiscal year 2024 budget. When we developed the budget, that was based on a rate of 20 mills. However, once we got the final digest, we did calculate the rollback rate, which is 19.6 mills. This rate is lower than the previous rate. This takes into consideration the adjustments to the digest made for reappraisals. By adopting this millage rate, it would constitute a tax savings to most taxpayers. No public hearings were required, as this rollback rate is not considered a tax increase per state statute. Also, by adopting the rollback rate, the proposed tax savings for a home with a fair market value of $150,000 is approximately $44 less than if we set the millage rate at 20 mills. while a home with a fair market value of $250,000 would see an estimated $84 savings if we adopt the 19.6 versus the 20 mills. So as I stated earlier, the budget was built on 20 mills. This would adopting the lower rate would result in a decrease in the tax levy of approximately $4.5 million. However, we can sustain this decrease by utilizing a portion of our fund balance to provide this tax break to our citizens. So the recommendations is to adopt the millage rate of 19.6 mills for the maintenance operation to support the fiscal year 2024 budget. I'll be happy to entertain any questions.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, board members, I need a motion for the recommendation to adopt the millage rate of 19.6 mills for maintenance and operations to support the fiscal year 2024 budget as adopted. Ms. Bowles.
I move that we accept the proposed millage rate rollback at 19.6 mils.
All right, thank you. And a second, Ms. Hill.
I second.
All right, it's been moved and properly second that we adopt the recommendation of 19.6 mils. Please vote. All right, and it is a unanimous vote.
Thank you.
All right, we have one more item on the agenda. That is the budget amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, this is a budget amendment for our prior fiscal year 2023. We're requesting to increase the general fund expenditures by $29,517,505.16. This increase is due to the mandated increase in state health insurance premiums for certified staff, retroactive to January of 2023 in the amount of $18 million. There were a legal settlement in September 2022 in the amount of $10 million. And then we had additional increases in other operational areas, including fuel in our transportation area. So we're asking the board to approve that increase there. And then these increases in the expenditures would be offset by additional revenue that we've received in the general fund in the amount of $29,416,755.16. And these were in the area of property tax collection. Our collection rate is actually exceeded 100% of what was originally budgeted, $6.8 million. And our state QBE increased by $17.2 million. Those are additional funds from the state due to school reimbursement of state mandated insurance increase that we spoke of earlier, and the increase for the expenditures. And then we also have an additional $5.4 million in miscellaneous revenue due to increases in our indirect costs from our grants. So I'll be happy to answer any questions regarding that if you have any.
Are there any questions? Ms. Bowles.
Hi, Ms. Bivens.
Hi.
One question about this whole document was really helpful and easy to understand. The only one that confused me was number 3, the miscellaneous 5.4 due to the indirect cost of grants. Here's where I'm confused. It says revenue increased by 5.4 million. So I'm thinking that's money we get, but then it says due to indirect costs, which make it sound like an expenditure. So my question is, did we get 5.4 we didn't expect, or did we pay 5.4 we didn't expect? And in the case that we paid 5.4, are we paying people to receive grant money?
Okay. So the indirect cost is a rate that the general fund gets to charge all of our federal grants that we have. So the federal grant is paying the $5.4 million to the general fund.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any more questions? What's the recommendation, Ms. Bivens?
I'm sorry. The recommendation is to approve the budget amendment as submitted.
All right, board members, I need a motion to approve the budget amendment as submitted. Ms. Bowles.
So moved.
All right, and Ms. Baker.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and properly second that we accept to approve the budget amendment as submitted. Please vote. All right, it is unanimous.
Thank you.
All right, I think that we have covered everything this evening.
Yes, we have, Madam
Yes.
Chair.
All right, we are in
And stuff.
adjournment. Thank you.